Hello, Sink Bissers. Josh for the Clearing Waivers podcast coming at you for another episode of the Clearing Waivers podcast. We appreciate you all joining us this week. We're probably a little bit like you. We're all a little bit down in the dumps. This has been a pretty tough 3 days on Chiefs Kingdom with the starting off with the Super Bowl loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But today we found out that we lost old Chiefs coach Marty Schottenheimer at 7 to Alzheimer's. And then right before we came on, we did also hear the news about Therese Paylor, a former writer for the Kansas City Star covering Sporting Kansas City, Mizzou, and then ultimately the Chiefs, and then moving on to Yahoo Sports. But I think all three of us, with both their work, Marty was the dad of all the Chiefs fans out there to kind of get us rolling on our aged fandom. So he was the first coach that a lot of us really remember. And then Therese just covered the team like none other. So shout out to their family and friends, and thoughts and prayers to all of them, and rest in peace to both those guys. But we're going to talk about the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this last Sunday night. Also very disappointing, losing to the Buccaneers 31-9. We're going to kind of break that down like we usually do, and then we're going to get to the shenanigans. Only thing we're going to talk about sports-wise is that Super Bowl. We've got a lot to say. There is plenty to cover in just that one gross game. So let's just get into it here with the Clear the Waivers.
We're clearing the waivers.
Like I said, gross game. Chiefs lose 31-9. It was kind of a weird game in that the 31-9 score felt both accurate and also closer than the game was. I think we've talked about that in the Chiefs' victories quite a bit, that the score was closer than the game itself. But 31-9 sounds about right. We're going to start out with some standouts here. Kenny, I'm going to start with you because we don't usually talk to you about Chiefs games very often, but I'm fairly confident that you did catch this game as well. What was the big standout to you in the Super Bowl this week?
I mean, the most obvious one is just that Tampa Bay D-line, just incredible amounts of pressure they were able to create with just, for the most part, just rushing 4 guys. When you can do that, makes the game a hell of a lot easier for your back 7 to concentrate on just covering receivers, not worrying about anything else. Because you can see it coming even a couple times. That seemed to be their plan, where they weren't really spying Mahomes at all, because he was able to scamper out of the backfield when coverage, the line broke down, and he was able to get those yards he hadn't been getting of late for the most part. So, I mean, just 4 guys all night, just in his face. He made some ridiculous scrambles and threw some crazy passes that catch the ball, guys. Catch the damn ball.
There's some big time prime time plays.
Running for his life, and he's throwing dimes out there right in your hands, or sometimes your face mask, because your hands don't work that night, and just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe he was making those throws. And I think we're going to see that one where he's horizontal, parallel to the ground, and just whips one basically sidearm, and it was a dime. Just perfect toss. Just couldn't come up with the catch with that one either. So, I mean, that
was one of those things where obviously you want the Chiefs to win, but if he pulled that play off, you'd almost get a little bit of like a consolation prize at that point, because that is an all-time highlight if he pulls that off.
Yeah, it's insane. It's one of those things where I think it'll be a highlight no matter what. They'll show that picture, and after 3 or 4 years, people won't even remember that no one caught it. They'll just that was a ridiculous throw.
Yep.
And it won't really matter too much what happened after he threw it. Just the fact that he was able to throw it at all in the position.
Not just at all, but 30 yards after that.
Right. Got up to the goal line and hit a guy in the hands.
Unbelievable. He used to be a shortstop, you know.
I'm totally on board with that becoming one of his highlights that we watch, because like you said, it'll just fall into the hundreds of ridiculous arm angles, getting balls away. You're right. I mean, most people won't remember that was an incomplete in the game that they scored 9 points, but it was just that incredible for an incomplete pass for a team that didn't score any touchdowns. That was the viral video. That was the viral picture that went around the internet the next day.
Yep.
Crazy.
The O-line, I think, was you said the D-line for Tampa Bay. I went with the O-line.
Right. Probably more so than them.
Yeah. And I mean, definitely props to both the D-line, the linebackers, Todd Bowles, they all played and coached their asses off that game. So hats off to them. They did prep and execute very, very well. But that O-line was atrocious. You probably saw the tweet and the stat going around that Patrick Mahomes was pressured on 29 dropbacks, which is the most in any Super Bowl in history. Patrick also ran for 497 yards behind the line of scrimmage, scrambling to get out of tacklers' ways. All that being said, he did only get sacked 3 times somehow, and he did all this with turf toe that he had repaired today. It's just bonkers that it was so bad. I mean, we talked about it. It was, you kind of expected it to be bad, but we also expected them to scheme enough to be able to work around it like they kind of have already in the past. And it just wasn't happening. There wasn't anything doing. They get some rhythm, and then they would throw some kind of stupid screen pass out in the flats to McCole Hardman, which would hit the ground, or he would just slip or some other reason, and all momentum just screeches to a halt. It just seemed like that was the story of the night to me, was that offensive line. It affected both the offensive continuity and rhythm, but it also affected the defense in that they couldn't get off the field. And part of that was because they were just gassed all the time. They gave them 2 3-and-outs. I guess the second series was a 4-and-out, but they gave them opportunities to get out to a lead, and the offensive line just couldn't make it work. So that was my big one for me, for sure.
Yeah, and I think rolling off that statement, my biggest standout was something that I just didn't expect to happen at all. We haven't seen it happen, I don't know, for years maybe, that we saw the entire coaching staff get out coached just across the board. It was ridiculous watching this offense and hearing press conferences afterwards about Tyreek saying that basically the game plan was they were planning on the defense to play a lot of man and stuff like they played in the first game. And it's like, what the fuck what do you think they're going to do? They gave up like 500 yards in the first half in week 12. And you think they're going to roll that same defense out there? I mean, come the hell on. You got to have some kind of adjustment to it. Even if you think, okay, Todd Bowles is stubborn, he's going to run his defense and hope that it's good enough this time. Well, let's just in the back of our mind think maybe he'll change up the defense and play it like everyone else has given us problems it's done, and he'll adapt and change. We didn't change at all. We weren't prepared for it, it didn't seem like. We knew going in that the offensive line was in shambles. We didn't really see anything that they did to adjust to make up for that. We saw no max protection almost. We saw no design rollouts. We didn't get a screen game. We didn't see our cool little gadget plays that you almost always get in a big game. They tried to set up some screens. They got blown up. Credit to the defense for blowing those up. But there's still always just like a handful of gadget plays that we seem to break out for big games. And even when the offense was struggling the most, we had no answers for it. And I mean, the coaches just, they drove me nuts. They didn't get Tyreek nearly enough design touches. We should have had Tyreek schemed up for another 5 to 10 touches. Just get the ball in his hands and see what happens. We saw the way that the Bucs attacked us was basically the same way the Bills have attacked us, same way the Niners attacked us when they slowed us down. But the difference was we actually had plays happen underneath. We had a run game maybe. We were planning for that. It's just like we kept trying to take these deep shots against a defense with 2 or 3 safeties over the top at all times. And we just never adjusted till the second half when we tried to establish the run game when you're down by 2 or 3 scores. It was just baffling to me. And when you come into a game like that, and I've been saying abandon the run game for half the season, and I'm fine if you want to take that approach, but you still have to get Clyde works, and you still got to get ball in his hands. If the defense is taking away Kelsey and taking away Tyreek with their scheme, those other guys, you've got to find ways to get them the ball and make plays, because it's not like they're devoid of playmakers. They tried to get Hardman on just traditional routes, and we've already seen that that's not working. He's not really figured out and got on the same page as Patrick and Sammy Watkins. Like, he had 1 catch. He was a no-show. I mean, other guys just didn't step up, and I blame the coaching and their approach for that. And I think it's just going to eat at them for the rest of the offseason, that they were just totally unprepared for that game. And everything was right there in your lap. You beat the brakes off these guys in week 12. Their coaching staff made changes and yours didn't. And you got left in the dust because you didn't do your job.
You mentioned Clyde Edwards-Helaire and establishing the run. He had 9 carries for 64 yards for a 7.1 yard per carry average. Most of those came in the second half. I will say that I want to say they had like 9 of 10 running or pass plays in the first 2 series, and it seemed like that was the tone. They didn't need to do that, but they chose to just pass. And that's fine as long as you can establish some kind of depth on those routes. It seemed like everything, they were looking deep, and they didn't have the line to do that. They didn't have the scheme to do that. They were just assuming that it was there. When it wasn't there, they kept doing it. I don't understand. There was no manufacturer, like you said, no manufacturer to Tyreek. There was pretty much nothing to take a couple shots at him, but I think he only had 3 catches at the first half. Him and Tyreek both got some garbage time stats, but before it got out of hand, they were pretty much non-existent. Bad drops were all around, and bad luck as well. So it was just an all-around perfect storm, terrible situation that the Chiefs found themselves in, and they didn't help their case whatsoever in trying to scheme themselves out of it.
No, the defense, they get no pass on the season. They didn't scheme up anything that they should have been doing, and everything that we wanted them to do. Everyone knows for the past 5-10 years, when you go against Tom Brady, you got to stop the run and you got to stop passes to the tight ends and the running backs, and make him beat you over the top and say, if they get it over your head, tip your cap. You got us. But you cannot let him dink and dime you to death. You cannot let the run game just crush you down your throat when you know it's coming, they know it's coming, and you still can't stop it. That's a huge problem. And like I said, these guys had 2 weeks to do something that it was obvious from the time we knew the matchup. You know what you need to do against these guys. You dominated them in week 12, and they garbaged you back into a game. It's just baffling to me how bad the offense looked, how bad the defense got gashed in the run game, and doing everything vintage Tom Brady does in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's so infuriating.
I tried to make the case that this is kind of a different Tom Brady than we're used to. And then he wasn't.
Nope.
Turns out he's the same guy, at least when he plays Steve Spagnuolo. For the most part, the Buccaneers wide receivers did not have a day, period. It seemed like all 3 of the big names there, they did get a taste. Antonio Brown caught a touchdown. Mike Evans had 1 big play. Chris Godwin had more or less nothing. I think 2 for 9 is all he went for. So on the outside, they had it pretty much locked down, pretty much good shape. Everything else underneath and up the middle, up the seam, couldn't do anything about it. Not one damn thing was able to be done about it. And I put a lot of that blame on Ben Neiman. He had an awful game. Seemed like every big play, you'd see Ben Neiman bite on a play action pass, and then he would turn around and sprint 70 yards, and then they'd dump off to Leonard Fournette right underneath him, and then he'd go for 15 more yards. Yep. Or he stuck around and didn't turn around, and they'd dump it over Gronkowski, who'd run for 30. I mean, it was just vintage Tom Brady. They picked out who was the weak link on that defense, Ben Neiman, and they just stuck to just killing him. That's what Tom Brady do.
And you go back to vintage Tom Brady. That's also vintage our defense. Everyone knows the weakness to our defense is we can't cover tight ends, we can't cover running backs, and we had 2 weeks to try to come up with an alternative plan to cover that weakness up, because he, like you said, he will keep going back at you at that spot. When we've talked about before, teams had success at that early in the game, and then they kind of get away from it, kind of forget about attacking that scar in there, and Tom Brady just wasn't going to do that. He's going to keep coming at you and keep picking up his 4 to 8 yards a pop and go down the field to score. So, that was so maddening to watch.
We've blamed the team quite a bit, right?
Yep.
I think we've covered how badly the coaches coached and the players played outside of Patrick Mahomes. Can we talk about the referees now?
We have no choice.
Is it time? Can we I know the cliche on all these is to be like, never put yourself in a position where the referees' choices and flags make a difference. It's kind of hard to get any rhythm going when you're fighting against the team that is led by Tom Brady. Obviously, you have no way to stop him, but you're also playing against the referees. And that crew, that officiating crew, was an abomination. to the referee game. Abomination. Chiefs had 11 penalties for 120 yards to the Tampa Bay's 4 for 39. But wait, the Chiefs had 8 for 95 yards in the first half compared to 1 for 5 on Tampa Bay. Those awful defensive holdings wiped away an interception. They had right before the half, they got the Buccaneers into field goal range and then got them to the 1 yard line with like 10 seconds left. If they do not get in the end zone there, and I know a lot of people want to blame Andy Reid for taking timeouts there. I still liked it. I liked the fact that he was going aggressive. That's fine, Kitty. You're definitely not alone.
Nope.
And it's hard. It's hard to blame them in the moment because I'm kind of that dude in Madden being like, oh, I can 45 seconds left and Pat Mahomes, I can get in field goal range with that easily. But it did kind of turn out the way it did. So under the microscope a little bit. Well, what do you want to say?
I liked the first timeout after first down when it was second and 9. That one I liked. When they got to 3rd and 2, my thought was, no, just let it go to half or make them call timeout.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make them
That's fine.
Then have to use that last timeout where they're now having to worry about if they get the first down, they have to hurry and rush and get all that stuff done.
Right.
Obviously, you don't expect the 45-yard pass interference call to happen after you call that timeout. And so that's quite a bit of a ridiculous game changer after calling timeout. But I would have rather seen the team at that point make the Tampa Bay burn their last timeout. And that's
for
what
sure.
they did.
And I think that's a very fair criticism. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, that first time out with no gain on first down, I think it's a pretty solid idea. Yeah. But we digress. That is what it is. I don't think it would have been a near big deal if it didn't turn out the way it did. And it turned out the way it did because of 2 terrible defensive pass interference calls. One was incidental contact on Mike Evans, who somehow is able to flop right in front of a referee and get the call 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, where Tyrann Mathieu is apparently no doubt getting in the way of Michael Evans in the end zone, but that ball hits the back wall, and that is an uncatchable ball. I don't know how anybody can pull the flag on those. And Tony Romo was like, oh, that's going to get called every time. Might have been out of reach, but it was the call. No, it was awful calls. And it was just like every one of these calls, every one of these phantom flags had a huge effect on the game flow.
And that one with Mike Evans in the end zone was the one where no time ran off the clock.
Yes. Yep.
There was 10 seconds left when they snapped the ball from what was that the 6 or 7 yard line. And that play takes 4 or 5 seconds. They might kick a field goal if they don't.
Right.
They've got 5 seconds left and they're at the 4 seconds left, the 1 yard line. They might opt to, you know what, we'll just take the guaranteed 3 points instead of going for a touchdown on that last play. So I think that is a ridiculous that somehow every single person at the game didn't understand happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They didn't mention it at all in the broadcast.
Right.
Like that's pretty blatantly obvious that the clock didn't run.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That to me was a bizarre one too. So I mean, you get that call. It's only 17-6 at half instead of 21.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
I think
like
that's a big deal.
It completely changed the game. And I know it's easy to look at the score at the end of the score and say it doesn't matter because Chiefs did score. It's on the offense. But Tampa Bay, outside of those nice drives where they established the run game and got it going in the second half, they weren't really putting together drives really either. They had one drive that was pretty clean. But other than that, the Chiefs were getting third down stops when they needed to, when they weren't getting penalized. Tampa still finished the game 4 for 12 on third down conversions. The Chiefs were somehow worse at 3 for 13. And we're talking about two teams, like in the rest of the playoffs, Kansas City converted on 55% of the third downs. Tampa Bay was converting 51%. It's a huge part of their game is they're very good at converting on third downs. And both defenses kind of put the clamps down on them. And they got bailed out by so many huge ticky-tack fouls that we've seen in the playoffs. They've let them play. They've let them hold dudes. We saw that Mark Bunting guy get away with 2 blatant holds and get interceptions in these playoffs that got them there. And then all of a sudden, this crew decided, we're at the Super Bowl. We're going to take back the charge of the attention here, and we're going to call this ticky-tack bullshit. And it drives me insane. That's what I had a problem with at the beginning of the playoffs saying they have one standard of refereeing for playoffs, one for regular season. I just want it to be consistent across the board. And I don't want you to be, I want the referees playing hero ball in the damn Super Bowl. Everything's on the line. We don't want to get your, if there's a questionable call, you don't throw it. That's what they've said coming in. They need it to be obvious. And it needs to be obvious that you're keeping that guy from getting to the ball on a pass interference call. That stupid Chris Jones unsportsmanlike when they're just pushing like they do on every fucking play is ridiculous. Do you watch football? You let this go on the entire game. They let Tom Brady run down Tyrann Mathieu and scream in his face. Tyrann talks back to him, and Mathieu gets the call for taunting. That call didn't end up mattering, but it's just shit like that just you can't help but have in the back of your mind, like, what do these referees have against my team? I mean, I know every team thinks that about the referees, but fuck, I've never felt that way more than I did on Sunday. And I had to like walk out of the room multiple times and just like, because my daughter was in the room with me, because I just wanted to scream at the top of my lungs. Like I just couldn't get my head around what was happening based on everything you've seen in the playoffs, what you're allowed to do. In the Super Bowl, somehow we're going back to ticky-tack. And at halftime, they had a meeting about that shit because they were very, a different crew in the second half. And that shit drives me nuts because someone told them at halftime, hey, you guys are being too much here, too extra. Yeah. Chill them the fuck down. Like, God damn it. I who knows what happens without those big play calls, how many times they settle for field goals. Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs still couldn't do anything on offense, so I can't really say that. But I will say that they turned a lot of those drives into touchdowns that are probably punts or field goals at best. Yeah. And I feel like they saved us really from having one of the ugliest offensive games we've ever had in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that game probably, because the one to me that was even most ridiculous was the one where Matthew got the interception where they called the hold.
Yes.
I remember who they called the hold on, but that one was
Sharkhandrick.
Absolutely terrible. He had his hands he had his hands on Mike Evans, but there was no jersey grab, there was no pull, there was no wraparound. He was just you always, that's how you play defense in the NFL and playoff Super Bowl. You have your hands on the guy, feel him where he's going to go.
Yep.
And I got something penalty is so ridiculous.
Furthermore,
that happens. I mean, you probably assume the Chiefs probably wouldn't do anything again on offense. Assuming they didn't get offense, you don't give Brady and the Buccaneers end points in that drive, so still 7-6. You probably go into halftime down 10-6, maybe 14-6 only. Yeah. It's just that's a completely different game just from that one holding call that they just blew completely.
Then furthermore on that, the ball came out of Tom Brady's hands and it was tipped simultaneously where the hold would have been. The closest thing that would have been a hold was simultaneous with the ball tipping, which at that point, it doesn't matter who touches who. The ball has been tipped. It's a live ball. Whatever you want to do goes at that point. So, I mean, that should have been a pick 100% of the time. Even if it was a ticky-tack foul, it was still very, very much in play and should have been a pick. Also, I find it completely hard to believe that if these were getting holding calls all over the place, that you don't have the weapons that the Chiefs have without having that on both sides. So I refuse to believe that the Bucs were not doing that as well.
Right.
I think that's safe to say, yeah.
The one parting thing on the referees is that it came out that the Chiefs had that crew 3 other times in the regular season, and both those times they called 10+ penalties on the Chiefs. And every other game in that season, only 2 of them had 10+ penalties in a game. So that is what it is. Apparently that whole crew hates the Chiefs, and we can kind of put an asterisk by the Super Bowl as well.
And to Kitty's point, if that's a crew that calls a ton of penalties compared to everyone else, why are they being rewarded with the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Why would you want the crew that penalizes the most in the Super Bowl?
Yep.
No, that's not what the fans want to see. Why would you reward them for throwing more penalties than anyone else?
Yep. So I guess that's the standouts. Let's get to the hot takeage, I guess. The worst part about this loss is blank. Brian, what do you got?
Well, I should say, the opportunity of Super Bowl, nothing's guaranteed in the future. You never know how many times you'll be back, blah, blah, blah. But that's a lie. That's not the worst part for me. The worst part is having to hear about fucking Tom Brady on and on and on and on and on. Go, 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 go. Why couldn't it be Rodgers or Breeze or Russell Wilson or anyone else? It had to be that asshole that went to the NFC with a dominant defense, a great running game, great coaching. Oh, and he gets every call to go his way in the Super Bowl. I mean, have we not heard this before? This is how he's won so many of the Super Bowls, to be on a great defense with great coaching, a nice run game.
It's all him, Brian. It's all him.
I mean, it just doubles down on it that they gave him the MVP because he has 3 touchdowns in his scorebook with 201 yards. When everyone knows the story of this game was the defense shutting down the most prolific offense that we've seen since maybe the Rams. I mean, nobody had shut down Mahomes in the offense like this. Touchdownless. Nobody had done this. I mean, and it's not like you can't point out some awesome defenders had great games. Shaq Barrett was everywhere. Devin Bush was everywhere. Levante David had a great game. I mean, you pick out one of those guys, give him the MVP. Don't just give him Tom Brady because he's fucking Tom Brady and he has
right.
So that's my worst part of this.
Wins his seventh ring, which is going to be tough because 7 is more than any franchise has, including the Patriots, which is the funny part about that to me.
Yeah.
Patriots don't have a ring that Tom Brady doesn't have as well. He has more rings than 17 current franchises have combined. And all that's to say, in order for Mahomes to be considered the GOAT, which is not what this is about, but it's kind of what this is about.
This past 2 weeks, that's what it's been about.
Right. He's going to have to win 6 more to tie Tom Brady at this point. And at his current pace, he has 1 ring out of every 3 years. He's just starting quarterback. He'll need to play till he's 43 years old to get to 7. So I don't think he's going to have that pace. I think he's going to have a few more better pace, but at the same time, not super confident that I'll play for till he's 43. So it's going to be really tough to catch 7.
That's the worst part of this. The best part of this is Chiefs fans. You've got all those years ahead of you, man. It's not going to be long before we've forgotten about Tom Brady. They'll still want to compare you to him in the stupid pregame, but we still get to watch our guy for 10 plus years on our team. So, I mean, that's the absolute best part about this walking away.
This to Brian, but do you have any other anything to add to this?
I mean, it just goes to show that when you have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over 37 times in a season, you can do a lot better things with your offense.
Yep.
So I think Tampa Bay made a good, a wise investment and choice there by dumping Jameis and bringing in Tom Brady.
Yep.
No, because I saw something too. Their defense was basically exactly the same.
Yes.
Rated wise from last year to this year. And
their offense was too, outside of adding Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski, which not too shabby.
It's a healthy additions, but just the lack of turnovers is just insane. How much that just obviously changes complexion and everything.
30 interceptions can get you to 7-9. What is half of that able to get you? Apparently 11-5 in a ring.
Yeah, there you go.
I had two kind of worst parts to kind of add to this as well. One, it kind of justifies the talking heads and the anti-Mahomes truthers out there who are now coming out being like, Mahomes couldn't step up to the plate against the greatest of all time, and Stephen A. Smith couldn't get to social media fast enough to start trolling the Chiefs fan base, and Skip Bayless is already saying that he hasn't backed up his great regular season play with his playoff performances, even though he has a ring. Skip. But I just have to see their stupid takes in my timeline float up too often. If anybody watched that game and paid attention, they'd known that Mahomes was a Herculean effort to get to 26 for 49, 270 yards, 2 interceptions, and 33 rushing yards. And that's not including the 500 other rushing yards he had behind the line of scrimmage. But it's stupid people who are obvious trolls or obvious dumbasses, more fuel and more gunpowder to get their stupid takes off. So that's one. Next one, that this is probably the last year that the last best chance you have, because after this season, more and more decisions are going to get harder and harder and harder revolving that cap situation. Next season, you got to figure out what's going on with Mitch Schwartz, who came out today and gave a very non-committal statement about his future. We'll have to stand by to see what happens about that. But like we talked about earlier, Fisher might be done. Matthew might be a cap casualty. They're going to figure out how to restructure guys to get even under the cap, and then figure out how to fill some holes. Season after that, they can save $22 million by cutting Chris Jones, and another 13 by cutting Frank Clark. Also two potential cap casualties on there. And then the season after that, Tyreek Hill is a free agent. So there's going to be some really tough decisions with this team, and it seemed like this year was the last best chance to get another ring. So it's that's the other downside to this loss in not coming away with a ring. So I guess we'll kind of carry that into that. Where do we go from here? Where do the Chiefs fans go from here? And Brian, you gave a little bit of a spin zone, a little bit of a silver lining here. I've got a silver lining of myself here. So the best part about this loss, this goes back to the Chiefs fans. The narrative going around this is people are going to use this defensive game plan as the blueprint about how to stop the Chiefs. Brian, you mentioned it, that we've seen this before. We've seen this, and yes, it does kind of limit what the Chiefs are able to do. It kind of limits their big playmaking. But all of this is predicated on that offensive line being shitty, every one of it. And there is no reason to believe that the offensive line will not be better than terrible like they were in the Super Bowl. So go ahead, use this blueprint. I don't care. They're already actively. Patrick Mahomes was already looking at film in the Super Bowl, trying to figure out how to counteract that game plan for the future. And they're only going to get better when it comes to that. So go ahead, use that as a blueprint. It's not going to work. The Chiefs are going to be too
four
good.
Dominant down linemen.
You need 4 dominant down linemen, 2 athletic freaks in the linebacker field, a solid secondary, and a shitty Chief offensive line, and that will not come up again. So go ahead. I'm fine with it. Use that as a blueprint. If you want to use that as a blueprint and lose every week in the Chiefs, be my guest. We'll be sitting there. Brian, what's your what is your take about where the fans are going from here?
Well, I think, like you said, that for a team that just went to Super Bowl and was 14-2, there's a lot to figure out this offseason, and it's not because they're not a good team. They've got to figure out the O-line situation, what that's going to look like. You said both tackles are questionably back on this team at all. You're going to bring back Niang. You're going to bring back the doctor. And like we've talked before, we're probably, hopefully, looking at investing at least one top 100 pick on an offensive lineman every single draft going forward, because none of us liked watching Patrick run for his life back there. None of us watched him take those hits. He's your franchise guy, and I think priority number one needs to be finding protection for him year in and year out, keeping him upright. If you give him more time, it's going to give maybe non-elite weapons around him a little more time to get open. So I'm totally down with going the Aaron Rodgers route there, build him an offensive line, let those wide receivers run, and give him some time, protect him. I think you've got to figure out how to attack that scheme. Like you said, that just came against us. That there have been many attempts to quiet this offense. That what we saw on Super Sunday and what we saw last Super Bowl with the Niners is kind of the same system with the same kind of personnel. So I think you're going to see a lot of teams try to load up in those areas because they know who they need to beat, especially in the AFC. I think you're going to see some teams start loading up in those areas. So I think that makes it especially important to solidify that offensive line. Yep. And like you said earlier, they've got to find answers at linebacker. They got to find answers at Sorensen's spot. Sorensen and Neiman are both free agents. I have no interest in bringing either one of them back, but you've got to find replacements for them that can do the job. Because right now, everyone just watched on Sunday, they have, even with 2 weeks of prep, knowing what their weakness was, they still let you attack it by running right at Ben Neiman and making him cover, making Dan Sorensen cover an athletic tight end, which he's proven he can't do when you're in a division with a guy like Waller. That's a problem. And you see how the Chargers set up. Watching that game Sunday up my worry level on the Chargers because they're now getting a Rain Man on defense to coach that team with some very athletic players and a very dominant defensive line and a stud young quarterback. So they need to figure some shit out and figure it out quickly. But, I mean, they're nothing but motivated this offseason to fix those holes. And I think you're going to see an on-fire Patrick Mahomes next year. I don't know what the earliest you can bet on him to win MVP next year, but I think I would hammer that MVP for Patrick next year.
Yeah, the Chiefs walk away with no ring and no yearly awards to kind of show for this run it back tour. I saw somebody on Twitter said that next year's motto should be "Take it back," and I love that motto. Give that one to me all day. But as far as the draft goes, apparently this is a very good draft to need offensive linemen and edge rushers as well as wide receivers, which is very fun because that's a lot of area of need the Chiefs might have. So I'd like to see a lot of additions through that way, but we'll kind of see how that goes. But
and get Willie Gay to be a dominant linebacker.
Absolutely.
That could clean up a lot of things if he is really the guy that they were hoping to be. I mean, when we drafted him, what we thought he might, even not playing earlier in the year, what he might become by Super Bowl time. And that was very exciting because he does cover up some of those problems that you have. So if they get him up to speed where he's comfortable with the defense, a whole other offseason of coaching him up, Willie Gay could be a huge difference maker on the defense. Because like you said, we can't afford to keep all these defensive studs around for long. So they're going to have to make some tough choices. So that's going to be a huge storyline going forward. And also, let's figure out how to get Clyde more involved in the offense.
Yes, please. Yes, please. He had a quiet, good game, 85 total yards on just 11 touches. So I'll take that from Clyde Edwards-Helaire all day, every day. Just figure out a way to do it. And it seemed like their offense was a little bit more dynamic when they kind of established them on the run a little bit. They were actually giving them some reps in the passing game as well. So I did find that he was pretty promising what he did in the Super Bowl. He's been there, he's seen it, and now it's time to kind of get him more involved. And maybe we can, now that we know that we don't have to force feed McCole Hardman anything. So we'll see how it turns out. But let's shake it off.
Yep.
We've licked our wounds, we've aired our grievances. Collectively, Chiefs Kingdom, I can literally feel the weight off my shoulders after having done that. So I think it'll be good for us. I think it'll be good for the team. I think that they're going to come back hungry, and we're going to see a different team next year. They're going to be going on their own little fuck you tour, I believe. So we'll kind of move on, go back in the off season. We're going to probably have some updates to kind of give you in the next few weeks to come, to kind of talk a little bit about what they could do in the draft, or what they could do in free agency. Not a lot of money, but we'll see what they can. I always have faith that they can bring in some guy that's wanting to wear a ring at some point. So we'll see how that goes. But let's move on to shenanigans. We're going to kind of switch it up again. This is the first time we're going to do shenanigans without any kind of waiver wire draft. The other shenanigans, typical, start off FA. This week, Kitty's going to bring us our question. Brian and I are going to kind of try to get involved and take him down with it. So, Kitty, I'm going to let you go ahead with Brian is going to be the first to guess. Go ahead.
All right. So there was a lot made, obviously, after the Super Bowl with how the offensive line didn't give Mahomes time. But he did run around and created time. So my question is going to be, which 9 quarterbacks this year took the longest from snap till they threw the ball on average? Because you think with the way that offensive line was in shambles going into the game, you would have thought have a little more quick passing game for the Chiefs. Didn't happen.
Yeah. So we're just talking about snap to releasing the ball.
Snap to release. It's NFL Next Gen Stats. Thank you very much for giving me this information today.
Well, I'm leading off, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we got Brian going first.
Let's start off with my current GOAT, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is not on the list. He
What?
is. Oh, he's on the list, but he's down. He's down like 20th, 2.72 seconds.
Too many pop passes. God damn it.
I'm going with old Deshaun Watson.
Oh, he is number 10.
That's surprising too.
We're doing
Very
top 10.
close.
Top
Just
9.
Top 9. And it has to be. I'm doing, and also just to preface it, guys have to start at least 10 games. So none of these guys that maybe played 1 or 2 weeks only. Try to get away from those guys.
Okay, I'm going to stick with the scrambling theory. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson.
Yes, he is number 4 at 2.97 seconds.
Well, we might as well stick with that and go with old Joshy Allen.
Oh, he's number 2, 3.04.
That's not too surprising with his drunk ass.
Exactly. He likes to run around.
Let's see here. Let's go with old Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson is number 3
All right.
at 2.98 seconds.
Sticking the same theory here with Kyler Murray.
Let's see here. Kyler Murray is not there. He is down at 15th.
He's getting the ball out, huh?
He does like to throw it quickly. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that too from Kyler being that low.
I mean, is our guy Mahomes eligible here?
Yeah, any quarterback in the league. is
Give me
eligible.
Mahomes.
Yes, at number 6 at 2.89. They like taking those deep shots.
Yeah, he
Takes-
likes to
takes
scramble.
time. Takes time to get a deep shot off.
Mm-hmm. He'll take a good 15-yard drop if he needs to.
That's right. Don't want to limit your offense, but without taking shots.
Yep.
Kind of running out of names here, but let's just go with Herbie Fully Loaded.
Don't know who that is.
Justin Herbert.
Herbie fully loaded. Okay.
He's actually down at 18th
Oh,
at 2.69 seconds. That was
great showing from Josh this week.
oh shit, that was already number 3.
I need
Oh,
to
no.
stop making myself last.
You need to take
Yeah,
those. Yeah, you need
that's
to
the
guess
problem.
first.
Totally the problem.
All right, you
here.
there's 5 names left for you.
Give me Big Ben.
Time to throw. He is not on the list. There, he is down pretty far. He was last among
Oh,
quarterbacks.
really?
Quite a
He
few
gets rid
games.
of it quickly.
Yeah, he was definitely not holding on to the ball this year. All right. That gives
I
2
know
strikes.
Brady's right in the middle, so leave him off. I can't believe that Breeze would hold on to the ball that long because his arm is a noodle.
I'll give you some hints here. Let's see
Yeah.
here. 2 AFC, 3 NFC left.
Okay.
Only one of the last 5 made the playoffs.
Only one made the playoffs. Okay.
Alex Smith did not start 10 games. I've got Tannehill.
Are you looking for more names to consider?
I think Josh is trying to help you out with some names. 'cause
Yeah, I'm
he's-
helping
Oh, I
you
thought
out.
you
Oh,
were.
yeah, sorry, Josh is out.
I'm
Okay.
out.
Okay.
So now it's a team effort here for these last ones.
I got Danny Dimes down here. I got Drew Lock written down. They like to take their sweet time, it seems. like.
True.
I don't think Tua started 10 games. Baker, a lot of play action passes. I don't feel like he takes too long.
I don't think, did Trubisky get to 10 games? Feels like there's a reason why he made 10 the
It'd be
cutoff.
right around there, I think.
Yep. Him and Fitzmagic, maybe Fitzmagic got to 10, but
Dolphins O-line was trash.
right. It feels
think
like Tannehill is a good one to go with, and
Tannehill, they use so many play action passes too.
right, which goes to the case, right?
Kinda.
He doesn't dump off to Derrick Henry.
Not quick passes. Well, let's go Tannehill. So Josh can be the one I can blame.
Well, you talked around some others. Tannehill down at 17th
Mm-hmm.
is not there.
Danny Dimes or Drew Lock?
Drew
Lock
Lock
was
was, yes, number 8. He would have made it. Number 9, Matt Ryan, 2.87, same as Drew Lock. Kirk Cousins, 2.88. Apparently, he was scrambling around quite a bit back there in the backfield. Carson Wentz, 2.91. for him,
think about
number
him.
5. And number 1, you just mentioned him, Baker Mayfield, 3.05. Yes.
It makes a lot of sense.
Longer than him was Jalen Hurts, but he only had 4 starts. But I'm gonna go with him. But yeah, like the crazy Tom Brady was down at 25th of guys that started 10 games or more. Yeah, but he was 5th in air yards per completion, which is kind of a bizarre. To get rid of the ball that quickly on average and still be number 5 in air yards per completion is pretty impressive.
That's what I came up with last week. I was talking about Tom Brady, is that he didn't hold on to the ball, but he also had a lot of air yards per completion, or yards per attempt, I think is the stat I used.
Okay.
And it seems like their offense definitely changed into more New England by the end of that Super Bowl script was New England to a T, outside of the couple of shots to Mike Evans. Like, they got the pass interference call. Like early in the year when you watched when the Bucs were struggling, they were taking way more of the Jameis type down the field shots, and it just didn't look comfortable with them. So they evolved into a New England offense, and God damn it if it didn't work.
It's the worst part about it, right?
God.
We licked our wounds, Brian. We don't need to come back to it. We're past this. We're on to the off season. Let's move on to the next shenanigan here with the waiver watch waiting game.
Waiver watch waiting game. Waiver watch waiting game.
Usually we have the 4 hosts to do this with us, but not this week. We are going to start it off with a random movie, and I had everybody I always have people bring to the table themed movies. Everything has something in common, and I know I said we're past it, but I had everybody bring a movie or a show that made them very disappointed for whatever reason. Didn't necessarily mean that it was a good movie that he didn't like, or maybe it was a hyped up movie that wasn't very good, or maybe there was some other reason that they were disappointed in it, but just something that you were disappointed in. And since we are down a host, we did randomize a movie that I think all of us have probably seen, and every one of us was probably a little disappointed in. Batman and Robin, George Clooney and Christopher O'Donnell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Tommy Lee Jones, or was that Uma Thurman? That was Uma Thurman, wasn't it?
I think Uma was in this one also. Yeah, not
Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy instead of the Riddler and Two-Face.
Mr. Freeze, just the dumbest lines the entire movie.
So we're gonna try to guess the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and then if we get that or the audience score on the head, we'll get 5 points deducted. So Kitty, you won. Brian, you came in second, and I came in third. So I'm gonna go with we'll go in the reverse order of that to give you guys kind of the advantage here.
Do you recall where this came in the series of these? Like maybe like 3rd or 4th?
So I think it was 4th. So okay. I think it went the 2 Michael Keatons. Did Keaton have 2 or 3?
I thought he had 3, but I'm not 100%.
Okay.
Let's see. I know he had, because there's obviously the Joker with Nicholson. Then he had
Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, but she was also in the DeVito one, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Maybe he only did 2.
Maybe.
So we got the ball.
So I think
it's either 4 or 5. Is that what we're saying?
Probably 4 or 5, yeah.
Because Val Kilmer had one in there.
I'm in.
I'm trying to think of the order too. Oh, yeah, I've got my score down.
Batman Returns, Batman Forever.
Oh, this is like DFA in itself.
Yep.
Except no one has the answer.
Let's just move on here. We'll probably be able to find out here in just a second. This was a very bad movie. Disappointing all around. I went with a 14.
Whoa.
Brian, you're up. What did you get?
Holy shit. Well, I didn't go that low, but I mean, I follow your thinking. I think in the fact that when you get into these series, the fans become super snobs. And if you don't pull it off just how they want, they're going to bury you. And Schlancy's love to bury people. So I had it rotten, but not that rotten. 38 for me.
Okay.
I almost split the difference exactly. This was actually the first movie I can recall thinking, can we go? Like an hour in, like, this is stupid. I don't want to be here anymore. But I had free tickets, so I stuck it out because, well, it's free. Who cares? which also is another reason to leave because you didn't pay for it. So you're not
Sure.
wasting money either way.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I went with 24.
Let's see what we got here. I pulled it up earlier.
Time for a reveal.
The Rotten Tomatoes.
I hope there's actually enough critics that reviewed it to get a score.
Oh yeah, you know they wanted to shit on this one.
The audience was a 16.
Wow.
Oh, you almost got the audience.
I did almost get
close.
the audience. The critic score was an 11.
Oh.
Somehow we
bad.
all still gave it too much credit.
11. Oh, good Lord.
That is amazing. Well, good round for me. Good start.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I got last in that one, so I'm gonna go next with my movie. I remember loving The Hangover. The first Hangover, it was the hardest I'd laughed in a movie theater since Superbad. Still remains one of my favorite comedies. And then I saw The Hangover 2. And let me tell you, that was absolutely one of the most disappointing movies I have ever seen in my life. So I went with The Hangover 2.
Okay. God, these comedies in this era were so hard to judge.
I remember not hating this as much as everybody else did. But everyone did. It seemed like everybody hated it.
I don't know why. I don't know
Oh,
why
man.
you didn't hate it.
I mean, it almost made more sense than the first one.
Well, then make
You're
it the
gonna-
first one.
If you're ever going to go anywhere where you get to drunk to remember shit, it's going to be in Thailand, right?
I mean, that makes sense.
Yep.
This
Well,
seems
Vegas
like
does
more to
too.
be
All right.
Katie, you in?
I guess in Vegas, since these guys were basically all supposed to be no longer bachelors,
Tied
not living
down.
the life, so they were
Mm-hmm.
definitely going to go crazy in a weekend in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Thailand. Okay.
This one's Thailand. though.
So yeah, Kitty, your mixed feelings of it are pretty indicative of how the audience felt. But Brian, what did you give this? What do you think the critics gave this movie?
I don't think they loved it. I think the few Schlanskys that enjoyed the first one probably couldn't wait to shit all over this one. So I'm going rotten 36.
Oh, that was close.
What did you go with,
I
Kitty?
said 37.
Ooh.
I'm sensing a trend here.
I want to see. I'm just going to pull up the first one.
Yeah.
First one got a 78 from critics and 84
too
at
low.
the audience, which is pretty low to me. But Kitty, you said 37.
Mm-hmm.
Actual
36.
audience score, like I said, mixed feelings, 52%.
That makes sense. I get
Seems
it.
high. Seems high. Critic score, a little more like it. It's a 33.
Ooh.
Oh,
You guys were both
almost
right
nailed it.
there. Well done.
Almost nailed it.
Very good. So we are to Brian to give us his movie. What do you got?
Okay. I'm going a little different wavelength here. Go back to 2014. Streamed it on Netflix, I believe. And that was the movie Chef with John
Oh.
Favreau, Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo, Scarlett
Johnny Lasagna.
Johansson, Dustin Hoffman. I mean, this movie was labeled a comedy drama, and it had no comedy and no drama. I couldn't care less about that movie at the end. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted it to be over with. It was so boring.
For a
think
Cuban sandwich lover like yourself, it's kind of wild that you don't like that. That was like the staple that they made.
That's why I tuned in, Josh. I'm like,
Mhm.
food truck. This has got a great story to it in the overall. And then I watch it and I'm like, I'm just bored to death. Chef stinks. But did the critics think it stink?
I remember watching this with you. I was there with you watching it. I didn't hate it as much as you, but I didn't love it either. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind
I'm
of just
in.
one of those. It's just, yeah, I got my score down.
All right. I got Kitty up first.
Yeah. As I was saying, I didn't hate it, but didn't love it either. But yeah, I felt like this was, oh, you got to watch Chef's so good. Chef's so good. So I went a little higher than if it was just thinking about myself, I went 65.
Okay. Certified fresh. Josh.
I watched this. I enjoyed it. It was fine. I remember I watched it because everybody was, like you said, hyping bit, and I thought it was fine. But I know that the critics loved it for whatever reason. I went with an 84.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the audience was almost right there with you. Audience 85.
Another close one.
So now it comes down to the fart sniffers. How much
like I'm
did
gonna,
they like
feel
this
like I'm gonna need that deduction.
boring painting of a wall? Critics. An inexplicable 87. 87 from this boring piece of shit movie.
Hey, Johnny Favs, baby. Who does not
God.
miss?
Who did they pay? They had to pay the entire board of critics. Don't watch that movie if you haven't.
I think it's fine.
It
I mean,
stinks.
it's fine.
It's definitely not something you seek out. If it happens to be on a TNT or TBS on a Saturday or Sunday, you've got nothing going on. Yeah, just leave it on for a little while. If you like it, keep going with it. If not, there you go. You're done.
Watch Bar Rescue instead.
Don't rent that one. Don't
Buy
go
it.
out of your way to watch Chef.
Final round.
We are on to Kitty.
All
with
right.
Your disappointing movie.
Josh only has a 6 right now.
Currently a 6. Let's see
Yeah.
how much I can ruin it.
He needs to blow this one for me.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a decent round, but wow, 6.
No.
Whew. All right. So I went with 2008. This was a return of an iconic character with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
What year?
2008.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Marion Ravenwood came back as Karen Allen came back to reprise her role. I think this was maybe 20 years or maybe 15, between 15 and 20 after The Last Crusade came. So this was just felt like everyone was pumped to see this movie.
Yeah.
For me,
And everyone hated it, I think.
it disappointed me completely. I did not like this at all.
All right, I'm in.
I'm in.
You had Harrison Ford hiding in a refrigerator because it was lead lined to escape a nuclear blast, like in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
I don't understand why that is so hard to believe, considering he had 3 other movies where he was also doing ridiculous shit.
I don't remember the other stuff being this ridiculous, or Shia LaBeouf going American Gladiator to the vines of the Peruvian jungle.
What was
And
his
then
stupid name?
Buzz,
Some
50s
some 50s greaser bullshit like that.
And then like Kate Blanchett was just seemed way too cartoony of a villain.
Yep.
Like even though you had the guy that was ripping out hearts as one of the villains, somehow she was more over the top than that guy.
Yep.
But that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's aliens. Come on, what are you doing?
Spoiler alert.
Absolutely ridiculous. I was thinking when they found the skull when it first showed up and they had it, I thought, okay, maybe this is some sort of primate thing. Then it became aliens. And
Aliens, man.
Oh God.
Aliens.
All right. So what do you guys have written down for your guesses? I think Josh is your first, right? So you get to go.
Yeah. I went with a 41. Seems like that's a safe round. I think that there's
41.
plenty of Harrison Ford fanboys out there, plenty of Indiana Jones fanboys out there, plenty of George Lucas fanboys out there to get this shitty movie up to a 41.
All right.
All right, I got to be a little more extreme here. You're playing it safe, hit it down the middle with your 3 wood. I got to be a little more extreme here. I think there were some people excited for the series to come back. I think there probably was people that enjoyed it being an alien. Not enough. Michael Jordan, 23.
I thought you were going to go high for some reason, like you're going to be really high. What are you doing?
88.
Put up a 60 burger.
Basically, you did a pro grip it and rip it, but not the or Bryson DeChambeau grip it and rip it 400-yard drive, picking like a 1% or something.
Digits.
Yep.
No. All right. So Indiana Jones, our audience, 53.
Yep.
Wow.
In that Hangover 2 range. So apparently those 2 movies are basically equals in the audience size.
I'll
This
allow it.
was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life from critics.
Oh,
No way.
Oh, no.
78.
Wow.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't know what movie they saw to give this a 78.
They love aliens, I guess.
Apparently so. 78 on this trash.
Well, you
Sheesh.
did it, Kitty. You did it.
The comeback.
You came
I
back
got one of those
1
ridiculous.
by 5 or 1 by 4.
That was a Josh move right there, or somehow you
Wow.
get just the most ridiculous movie. You know,
Here I
Somehow
joked
the-
about going 88.
yeah, you should have gone 88. You had it.
I
that
thought
just
that was laughable.
that blew me away when I saw that number.
Yep.
That's wild.
I'd still
I-
rather watch Indiana Jones than Chef if I'm on a Saturday movie.
That's true. I would definitely. Yeah,
I
I'd go
think
with.
that's
Crystal Skull.
allowable. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
87.
87 is so stupid, so dumb.
78. 78.
Chef
So another
was
good
87.
round of the waiting
Chef.
game concludes with Kitty reigning supreme with a Hail Mary toss at the end. Well done. I came up with second, Brian's in third, and that's going to be the order for the keep trade cut this week. So let's get into that.
Keep, trade, or cut. Ba, ba, ba.
I legitimately was kind of in bed this morning trying to come up with a good keep trade cut, and I kind of sprung this on you guys, but I had it in my head. I wanted to do an action movie type of thing, and I came up with a bank heist. So you are going to plan a bank heist, and you are going to keep trade cut 3 role players to be part of this heist with you. You're going to trade for somebody that is going to be involved in not what I named here. So we're going to choose from the transporter, the good driver, the getaway driver, or the experienced criminal, the one that's robbed many a bank and knows how to do it and when to do it and how to get away with it, or the inside man, the guy behind the clerk desk that's ready to disconnect some security cameras and pile some money nice and conveniently for you and unmarked bills aside, ready to roll. So we're going to keep trade cut those 3. Kitty, you're going to go first. What do you got for keep trade cut?
All right, I'm going to keep the good driver. I feel like just in case, if the bank heist goes off great, you need that driver to get away. The bank heist goes ass over tea kettle, you need that good driver still. You still got to get away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm picking him, and I was trying to think who I would want in this crew. Had a couple options banging around in my head, and I'm taking Dwayne Johnson from Faster.
Yeah.
That's my getaway driver in this crew.
You
I
could
love that
have went
movie
with
so much.
Gosling from Driver, and you did not choose
Hey,
it.
I had him written down. That was my 2 options.
Interesting.
Baby
Okay.
Goose from Drive or Dwayne Johnson from Faster. What Dwayne Johnson does after his career as a driver is done was pretty impressive to me too. So
Sure.
I'm going to go with that. And Gosling didn't make it out.
Well,
Maybe
that
Maybe
was
not.
left to the imagination, right?
Yeah, my imagination said no.
Which is surprising from you.
Yeah, you would think. I'm going to cut the inside man.
Hmm.
I feel like this guy's just waiting to flip. He's just sitting there going, all right, yeah, I got you. And he's been working with the FBI or the bank for the whole movie, and you're just left with holding your dick in your hands at the
Yep.
end. Well, guess
At
we're
least you got
done.
Dwayne
Guess we
Johnson.
that's why I need to get out of that bank quick if the inside man turns on me.
Mhm.
Get in that getaway car still.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go next, and
Well, I gotta make my trade still, Josh.
Yeah, he's got a trade.
oh, I thought you traded for Dwayne Johnson, or
No,
you
he's-
just naming.
he's
you just
casting his
naming it.
movie.
I see.
I'm casting
okay.
my crew. Casting my crew.
I see. Okay.
So my trading the experienced criminal,
Mm-hmm.
which that's hard to do. Hard to trade the experience. I mean, haven't done a lot of bank robberies in my day, so I had experienced criminals nice to have on your team. So I'm trading for an enforcer.
Some
The
muscle.
guy that's going to be in the bank, the muscle, and anyone gets out of line, he's ready to take the back of that shotgun barrel right in their kisser. So I'm thinking maybe like Ben Foster from Hell or High Water. That guy knew his way around a gun. So
Yep.
taking him on my crew, and hopefully these guys can get me through this bank heist. in one piece.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm going to go this time. Right off the bat, I'm cutting the experienced criminal because it just seems like my amateurism to this is going to rub him the wrong way. And he's going to off me, and he may just off me anyways because he doesn't want to see. He wants my cut. So I'm just might be offed just right out of the gate. Get out of the bank, and I'm done.
That's true.
All for naught. So I'm cutting the risk on that. I'm getting it out of here. Like you cut the inside man. I think there's too much risk. Get him out. I am going to keep the inside man.
Ooh.
Because you need to be the one. You need to get the right one and plan it just right. So you don't need the other two. I think you can make it work. I think you can get by and you can get scot-free as long as the guy on the inside is in your corner. So give me the inside man as my keep. I'm trading the good driver because I think he's got the most trade value because everybody wants action. Everybody thinks that it's so important to be a good getaway driver. So I'm going to trade him for some eyes in the sky. I need someone manning that police scanner to tell me how much time I've got till they're at the door. And I need, if I don't get out in time, I'm not a great runner. So if there's a good chance that I'm going to miss the clock, miss my window. And then I'm going to need someone getting me some directions on how to get to safety and get back to the safe house. So give me some good old fashioned eyes in the sky. And I don't need a good driver at that point. I could probably handle that part. So give me the inside man and me and the eyes in the sky and we gone.
Yeah. The eye in the sky is nice to have that, nice blueprint of the city sitting there for you.
14 seconds. Get out of there.
They're close.
They're on Beaker Street.
I always like when it's, oh, there's 3 seconds away. Well, it's probably too late to leave then.
Yep.
They're right on top of you, really. 3 seconds. You're pretty much done for.
You're hitting the back door, which you might need a good inside man for.
Also true. Yeah. The second escape route. From the
He
inside
knows
man.
where the keys to the safe is. I mean, inside man, underrated. Where are you at in this round?
Well, my first observation is I'm not so sure Kitty didn't intend to trade for a time traveler because I think he's robbing a bank in 1980 where he's going to beat people up and run away from the cops. And I just don't think that's reality anymore. It reminds me of watching Night Stalker and them not be able to catch his murderer. I mean, this guy's literally murdering every night in about the same neighborhood every night. They have no clue how to catch him.
None.
But nowadays they have all this technology. So I am going to actually also keep the inside man, which I think is absolutely essential if you're going to rob a bank in the year 2021. You have to have somebody that knows the system, security system, how to get into the safe, all that stuff, because I am absolutely not robbing this bank while people are in there. I'm going in after dark. So I'm going to need to cut my driver wheelman because I don't need to get away fast. I'm coming in at night. I don't need to make mistakes. If you have a good enough plan, you don't have to worry about mistakes and being able to get away quickly. Cut the driver wheelman. I am going to trade the experienced criminal for a hacker / technology nerd. I love these guys in the movies. They can just hack into the police station. They can shut down cameras on a whim. They can block cell phone signals from going out. They can, I mean, they can just do whatever that you've ever dreamed about wanting to do. They just keep tapping. They're just hammering that keyboard. And then you ultimately have the leader behind him saying, "How much you now? I need 30 seconds. We only have 10.
I need 30 seconds.
I gotta have that hacker. That's my favorite part. So I don't need any enforcers. I don't need any fast cars. We're gonna beat it with technology this time, and I just need a couple of smart dudes. Open everything up for me. We'll just walk right out.
And then you're Ubering home.
Yeah. Exactly. Had that scheduled.
Sure. Well, I like that. I'm glad we kind of came up with both different and similar answers, but we all had different reasons for it. So I do like that a lot. That's a good round of keep trade cut.
It was. I liked it.
No best bet this week. We're putting that to bed. We can give you the results of how our prop bets went. I believe Kitty lost the least amount of money. So if that'll tell you whatever you need to know about how our weeks went for the best bet. I think Rance lost the second least. is how I should word that. I was in third. Brian was in fourth. The only bet I won was Tampa Bay covering, which was designed to be a curse, which I must have used that power one too many times apparently. So joke's on me, Chiefs Kingdom. I'm so sorry. So the best bet is put to bed for I guess until we usually do it for football season. So it'll probably be on the shelf until next fall. Not much to bet on, but we do have some other things kind of coming up on the horizon that we do have planned on here. And speaking of things that are on the horizon and things that we're planning of, we got some new big news. The Clearing Waivers podcast. If you've come with us this far, you've been with us since day one. You've saw us through the Casey Podcast Network days. You've saw us come out of that and on our own again. We are partnering up with another website this time, and one that I am quite familiar with. My home for writing, Royals Review, is picking up the Clearing Waivers podcast to be their sole podcast, I believe, unless they did have the Royals Farm Report guys doing podcasts. Unsure how that's going to go, but we are joining forces with the RoyalsReview.com blog covering the Royals. We are going to do the similar format, still covering all Kansas City sports. We're going to try to condense it down a little bit more digestible to about an hour, but that's the way we're going to do it. We're going to do some little changes, do some little format changes, but still we're going to be doing the same kind of thing here. So you can find us at all the normal places where you're listening to us now or watching us now. Wherever you get your podcast, you can do that, but you'll also be able to find us on royalsreview.com. So we're going to do that. But first, we've been podcasting for 18 months now or so, brought to you about 70 episodes. We've taken about 2 or 3 weeks off in that time. We're going to take a couple weeks for ourselves here. So next week, we're going to take a break. The week after that, we're going to take a break. The next time you're going to see us is the beginning of March, which is we'll have a little bit of spring training to talk about, and we'll start to hit the ground running on Royals coverage after that pretty hard. So we're excited to join Royals Review. We're excited to take a couple weeks off. We're going to have a couple surprises for you, some new segments, maybe a new intro, maybe some new songs, maybe some new music to kind of throw at you. But it's an exciting day for us at the Clearing Waivers podcast. We appreciate each and one of you Sink Pissers joining us for that. We look forward to meeting all the new Sink Pissers that'll inevitably joining our forces with us in the future. But for Brian and Kitty and also Rance, who's out, we do want to appreciate you one more time for me as well. Ta-ta for now.
The day is done. Now the night has begun. Nerves in a restless crowd. The burning sun. Now nowhere to be found. Deep underground. 'Cause I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. A page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. A page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. So hold your body close to the flames. Don't go so haughty, walking away. Hold your body close to the flames. Don't go so haughty, A page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. A page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. So hold your body close to the flames. Don't go so body walking away. Oh, hold your body close to the flames. Don't go so body walking away. Oh. Hold your body close to the flame.